Maayong buntag.
Maupay nga aga.
Magandang umaga, Biliran. We are proud to share with our listeners the second episode of our program dubbed as
Sugilanon sa Bilir. My name is Jodel.
Ako si Ayla and we will be your hosts for this episode.
Ayla, paspasa sa time, no? It seems like it was just yesterday when we aired our first episode.
Correct. Time really flies fast. Excited kayo ko, partner, for our discussion today?
And just a quick recap, no? In our first episode, our guest was Ruel Cabulang, a Biliranon artist, philanthropist, a talented nurse based in the US. What did we talk about nga ulit, Ayla, in our previous episode?
We talked about the experiences of him as a volunteer both here in the Philippines and abroad. We also tackled challenges in reaching out and helping communities. It was fun and really learning-filled episode.
True, and guess what? Good news for our listeners. They can easily rewatch that episode on our Facebook page. Just search Bilir. It's Bilir.
Go na, friends! Check it out. Bisag maulaw jud ko sa akong voice. Laban lang jud.
Oy, don't be ulaw, Ayla. We know that what we're doing is for a greater cause. And speaking of cause, we shared with you the core values of Bilir last episode. These are service, accountability, innovation, and leadership. And before we proceed, no, sa atong ginaandang nga script, we would like to insert one of our pakulo sa episode. We call this Bilir Trivia. What's our Bilir Trivia, Ayla?
Our Bilir trivia is Bilir is Biliran, is the
one of the smallest and one of the newest provinces
yes.
In the country. And it's a former sub-province of Leyte. And it was converted as a province in 1992.
So
Ayan.
it means that 30 years pa lang ang atong province. So to proceed, parts of our goals of Bilir is to expose truth and to share valuable and relevant information. So our guest today is definitely a perfect fit for an educational conversation on pressing issues that we face.
That's very true. He is currently the Assistant Provincial Prosecutor. He's been connected with the OPP since 2015, and he finished his law degree at the DevRef in Tacloban City. Listeners, ladies and gentlemen, non-binary individuals, we are proud to present to you Fiscal Richard Alvin Hapson. Fiscal, magandang hapon po.
Good afternoon to the both of you as well as to your listeners.
So for Fiscal, just an onboarding, no? How are you doing po? Kumusta naman po?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking that.
How is the OPP so far po?
Well, everything is fine with our office.
Thank you po. So we've invited you to this episode to discuss a pressing matter that we consider important na madiscuss po sa province natin. In statistics so far that we've gathered indicate that there are 139 cases of rape, child abuse, trafficking cases po sa province natin. This is specifically alarming considering na maliit po yung probinsya natin. So far, what are your thoughts po in these cases?
Well, the statistics showing that there are 139 cases filed with our courts. While it is alarming, it is also a good news because it would only show that victims of rape, sexual assault, violation of the child abuse law as well as pornography are reporting these cases to the proper authorities.
It means it's a good progress at least ano. Fiscal, aminin na lang namin ni Ayla at ako, Jodel, na medyo limited po yung knowledge namin. Pwedeng mag-start po muna tayo, especially for our listeners na hindi pa masyadong familiar sa mga terms. We have the following terms: child abuse, trafficking, rape. Sige po.
Child abuse refers to maltreatment, whether habitual or not, of a child. So this would include physical abuse, psychological abuse, cruelty, neglect, as well as emotional abuse. This would also include any acts or deeds which would debase or degrade the intrinsic worth or dignity of a child, as well as deprivation of a basic needs of a child, such as food, shelter, and clothing. This would also include the failure to immediately give proper medical treatment to a child who needs a medical attention.
We thank you for that explanation, Fiscal. Ayla, you'd like to follow up the second question?
So, so what is the status po of
The cases.
abuse cases or the cases here po in our province?
Status is a very broad term.
Yes
Oo nga
po.
So, the office, we have been receiving a lot of cases for rape or violation of Republic Act 7610, and I can say that 99% of these cases which are filed with our office, either for inquest proceedings or regular preliminary investigation, are filed with the appropriate courts.
Sorry, did I get the number right po? 90%.
It's about 99%. We
Ay,
seldom,
99.
yeah, we
Okay.
seldom dismiss cases on the level of our office.
Thank you for that po. Since these issues po affect the very bedrock of family, community, and society as a whole, ano po kaya yung magagawa natin? What can the community do?
I think the community has to be involved, and one way of uh, of if not one way of eradicating this problem is for the community to know what is child abuse, what is rape, so that they can report this to the proper authorities. So I think education is very much important.
Yes.
Information dissemination, especially that in rape and child abuse cases, we notice that majority of the cases happen in the hinterland, in the far-flung areas. So we assume that some of the people there have no proper or basic education. So I think information dissemination is important in eradicating this problem.
Yung nakuha ko, Ayla, na response from Fiscal, no? The vital role of education. Siguro, this is another layer po, Fiscal, of the issue. May mga cases po kasi, just like in 2019, cops rescued 5 teens in Biliran from online trafficking. Ano po yung unique sa cases ng, that happen online?
The OSEC cases, or the online sexual exploitation cases, involves the use of information communication technology. So what happens there is that we have cases wherein some adult persons would traffic minors. So what they do is they let these minors do some sexual explicit acts on camera, and the audience, most of the audience are foreigners. They are in another continent or another country. Now, OSEC cases, the Department of Justice is much focused on OSEC cases. It's one of the thrust of the Department of Justice. In fact, two of our prosecutors have undergone training on online sexual exploitation cases of children.
That's really unfortunate kasi
Yes.
internet, yung iba, especially sa atin sa province, no, source of information, it's very unfortunate na ginagamit ng iba for those intentions and acts.
Grabe partner, dili ko sure what to feel because
Exactly.
grabe siya, grabe ni nga mga abuses, why do people do this? And siguro lang po ako lang i-ask, what are the challenges po in curbing this crime?
Okay. The major challenge that our office is facing is when the victim as well as the complainant, or usually the mother or the grandmother, would not come to court anymore to testify. So I don't have to speculate on what are the reasons. I think the reason is obvious. Why would a minor who is a victim of a sexual abuse case would not anymore come to court when it is now her turn to testify? So as we know, we have only 2 branches of the regional trial courts in Biliran, and one of the regional trial courts here, branch 16, where I am assigned, has so many cases pending before it. So you would imagine, if today is July, if there will be a postponement, when would be the next setting? So it could be a month after, 2 months, or 3 months. Now, what would happen if during the next setting, the prosecutor is on sick leave? So again, the case will be reset to another date.
Yes.
What about on the other date? The counsel of the defense or the lawyer for the defense is absent or filed a motion for postponement. Again, it will be reset to another date. Now, what about on the next setting, the judge is on leave? So there are instances where in 1 year, we will only have 1
Oh no.
trial date because of the so many cases filed in court. So that's the challenge. Another challenge is that I think the government should have support for these victims, because when the victim is a minor, of course, the DSWD would come in. Now, what about if while the case is pending, the minor victim has already reached the age of majority? Now, that victim can now choose to go to their place and he is not anymore with the DSWD. Now, if the case would go for a little bit longer, of course, the victims would be looking for jobs. So they may look for a job in Cebu or in Manila. Now, once they will be called to court to testify, if they are already in Cebu or Manila, they would no longer come to court, and the case will be dismissed. Now, we have also cases of rape wherein the accused escaped, and after 10 years, he would come back to Biliran, but he has a standing warrant of arrest. He will be arrested. Now, the victim, who was a minor then, let us say 14, is already 24 years old, happily married with several children. Now, if you are the victim, you are happily married, and you have several children, would you choose to continue with the case and expose yourself to the chismis in the community?
Totoo.
So they would suffer, they would choose to suffer in silence. Then they would either not come to court, or they would execute an affidavit of desistance saying that they are happily married, they have already children, they don't want to recall the incident which happened to them 10 years ago, because that was very traumatic for them. Although we also have cases wherein several years has already passed, but the victim, who was once a minor and now of age, would really pursue the case.
Grabe ang emotional struggle. I can't express that in words.
Yeah. Yung nakuha ko na nuggets of wisdom from Fiscal is, number 1, time is of the essence, and sometimes it's the enemy. And nakikita natin how these issues are multifaceted. Ang daming layers na dapat nating i-deal, such as ma-unmask natin yung privilege ng mga tao, um, which is the reality, di ba? Kasi if you have the access, if you have the resources, ang dali-dali mo lang hanapin, or justice sometimes bends toward you.
True.
This brings me kanina, Ayla, no, sa recommendation ni Fiscal, yung crucial role of education.
Yes.
If people, or alam sana ng mga tao kung anong specifically dapat gawin, maka-act na sila as immediate as possible, 'di ba? Yung term is immediacy.
And one thing na akong na-get sa this answers ni Fiscal is about we have to have programs that caters the emotional struggles of the victims because grabe siya, maglisod sila gali og report, then maglisod og the process pa kay taas di ay ang process, no, lisod siya i-continue, and daghan kayo og factors na maka-affect emotional.
Speaking of report, Ayla, no, and I think our listeners should be oriented or rethought on this. Fiscal, assuming may alam na ganitong cases, how do the community members, family members, report these cases?
They can report that initially to their barangays.
Okay.
So the barangay can coordinate with the police station, and the police would, of course, file the cases with our office. Now, I would just like to add, earlier
Sige
you
po.
mentioned about the emotional struggle.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think you should also include the financial struggle of the
Oh.
victims. I have a case in Kabukgayan wherein the victim lives in a far-flung place. So she was sexually abused by one of her relatives, and they have to they have to start walking from their barangay at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they reached the police station at 7:30 in the morning. Now I asked them, why did it take you so long to report the case? One is they don't have any money for fare.
Oh no.
So imagine walking for 6:30, 2 hours just to report the incident to the police. So if they will be made to return the next day, for example, they were not able to bring the certificate of live birth. Again, they have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, walk for about 2 hours in order for them to arrive at the police station to make the proper complaint. There are also instances wherein the minor victims, the children, are not responsive to the questions. Why? Because they're hungry.
Oh,
Ay.
Diba? They are hungry because they haven't eaten yet, or if they have eaten, what did they eat?
So far po wala pa tayong programs about it.
You really have to ask the DSWD because that's their
Apo.
area of expertise.
and for sure, Fiscal, we will maybe sa subsequent episodes.
Yes.
These concerns really are alarming. The way we discuss with Fiscal Hapsuno, Ayla, parang nasa college ako. Transport ako sa college days ko na tinitingnan natin yung mga first principles of issues. As I understood it, Fiscal Hapson, penal laws act as deterrent, di ba? Para i-prevent natin for these crimes are happening. How would you convince, not that, hindi convince yan, how would you, or what message would you want to tell or say to those who committed the acts or who are about or contemplating on committing the acts na eventually justice will catch up on them?
Well, it's true. Our penal laws are supposed to be deterrent so that they will not commit the same act again. But how can it be deterrent to somebody who doesn't know in the first place that it is an offense? We have a case in one of the municipalities here. He has a cult of his own, culto, wherein he believes that he should have sex with his child.
Oh, no.
And according to his belief, there is nothing wrong about that. So it was fortunate that somebody reported the incident, so the police went there to a very far-flung barangay and brought them and filed a case against the father. So the father has a certain belief. The mother wouldn't report her husband because primarily the mother wouldn't believe the child that she was being sexually molested, or I don't know if the mother believes that it's okay for the father to do that. So it is a deterrent if you know
Yes, yes.
that it is wrong. But what about if you don't know that it is wrong? How can that be? How can our penal laws act as a deterrence? So I think information dissemination,
Yes, yan.
educational campaign, especially to the far-flung barangays. They don't have any electricity, they don't have any TV, so
Access to legal
Yes.
services po.
so I think if there will be an information dissemination or educational campaign, I think with more focus, the focus would be on the far-flung barangays wherein technology appears to be non-existent for them.
Any message po that you would like to share sa kapwa Bilirenas natin as someone from the OPP po?
So I would like to say that the primary role of the provincial prosecutor's office is not to convict the criminals, but to see to it that justice is served. So it doesn't mean that if you file a case before our office, that our office would work for the conviction of the accused. Ours is to see to it that justice is served. So as a message to your listeners, I would like to impart to them that if they know of any crime, especially involving children, they should not
Yes.
hesitate to report the same. I think they can report it to the police through a tip or anonymously, so that the police could conduct proper casing or surveillance or investigation. So as we all know, the children are the future of this nation. So we should protect our children.
Yes.
We should also protect the family because it's the basic social unit of our community. So to the listeners, if you know of someone committing a crime, please do not hesitate to report that. To the mothers, if your child reports to you or tell you that somebody is molesting her or him, I think you should listen to them. Because no child would make false accusation against his father or against any person who is not doing wrong against him or her. And to the others also, we have a case here of a person supposedly he would teach the students on their modules. Please do not take advantage of your
Definitely. Students or mentees.
yes, of your students, because we have case here of 2 male minor victims who have been sexually abused by their teacher mentor in the guise of teaching them about their modules.
Aggravating circumstance ba yun,
Yeah.
Fiscal?
So, grabe, important jud na mag-discuss ta about boundaries, education about, especially sa children, na when is something considered as an abuse, or about, like for example, grabe, two male students
Taken advantage.
taken advantage because of a module.
And what makes it more complicated, Ayla, is they look up to this person kasi he's a person of, or they're a person of authority.
Yes.
Diba? So, Ayla, I believe, and admittedly, Fiscal, we've simply scratched the surface of this issue. But more importantly, at least we started this conversations that I believe are important. It takes a whole of nation approach. Kailangan po natin ng help and contribution ng lahat ng sektor ng society for us to defeat this lurking enemy sa atin.
So really information, no? Information. So I think information dissemination, we really have to, and education to people. So I think that's it, no? Daghang salamat sa pagpaminaw, listeners.
We appreciate all of you for listening, especially our guest,
Yes.
Fiscal Hapson. Thank you so much po for your time and expertise. We salute you and we pray for your safety and pray for the best for your office.
Yes.
Thank you also for the invitation.
This is Ayla.
And this is Jodel.
Kini ang Sugilanon sa Bilir.